Let's just go ahead and check the colors. It is my Naples yellow. You can also go ahead with Indian yellow, then opera, and some amount of red or your quinacridone coral, then ultramarine, burnt sienna, Van Dyke brown, and you can have various shades of green like the yellow green, then your hooker's green, and the darkest value of green, again the Van Dyke green. Last would be endothrine blue. I will go ahead and just apply a clear wash of water on top part of my sky and then start out with a wet on wet process. Now this is majorly going ahead and adding some amount of my Naples yellow and orange or quinacridone coral into the this particular shade. I get a very light pastel kind of a shade that I'm going to go ahead and apply on the top part of the sky. This is pretty amazing the way you can continuously develop your sky. Always go with the lighter value and know that if you are applying the colors on a wet surface, the paints will dry one shade or two shade lighter compared to if you are going ahead and doing a wet on dry method where it might be a very less shade lighter compared to what you usually get in a wet on wet method. Going ahead and starting out with some of our lighter value even towards the bottom as well as on the sides, then I would apply my blue. Now ultramarine is one of my favorite blues that I've been playing with for so many years, and I would also like to add this ultramarine blue into the sky area. Of course, the sky area is very beautiful, nice, and I think the combination of this orange kind of a shade and the blue goes very well. I was not very sure when I started out painting it, but as I progressed, I just felt this is one of the beautiful evening skyscapes that you can paint along. Okay, great. Let's do a bit of our blending as the colors were just not very good in terms of the blend that we had over there. Some more of our blue in few of the areas, and then once this part is done we will allow our sky to dry off before we move ahead to the next part. Why drying off of particular areas is very important. If you don't allow your sky to dry off, then quickly move on to the bottom part, the colors from the bottom part will move into the sky area, and that's what we don't want in terms of bleeds, or you can say some or other kind of cauliflower effect, etc. Okay, great. I guess we are almost done with our sky, and my sky is completely dry. Now it's time to go ahead and start out with our Naples yellow or Indian yellow, whatever is available with you. I have mixed a bit of amount of burnt sienna into it to get this kind of a shade. You can use any color that's available on your palette. I always say this, the intent is to paint, so go ahead and apply any shades or any colors that's available. I am adding some amount of my colors and leaving out a few of these areas in the white, because those are the areas where I can see my sky, and I will just paint it clear blue. I do not need to think much when I'm going ahead and painting that. Blending the colors with my burnt sienna. Always blending your colors even in smaller spaces gives you a lot more and better outcome compared to what you do in larger spaces or areas where you just don't know like how the outcome would be, or if you think about doing it later on, it might not be this beautiful blend that we get it right now. I'm even adding some amount of my Van Dyke brown. You can go ahead with any of your other brown or prepare your own darker mixes. That is going ahead with your ultramarine and some amount of burnt sienna to get a darker value of brown. We continue to use the same process throughout the entire part of this painting as I progress. So even while I extend to the right side, I will use the similar way of adding my colors. While my paper is still wet, I would go ahead with some of my darkest value, that is my Van Dyke brown, and add it in few of the places where I want more of shadows to be seen. Now, light and shadow is always an act which you see in nature happening, because some of the areas are more lit compared to the other areas which are more dark because of the wear and tear of the building, or maybe in some of the areas it might be because the way these monuments are placed, some of the areas have more shadows falling on it, and some of the areas are more lighted out. So, that thing you need to keep in mind and continue to progress with the painting. Though this is a pretty small painting, it's smaller than A5 size painting, and hence you can have any small square paper to work on this painting. Switching on to my thinnest brush, and this is my size 1 brush from the brand Escoda. I'm going ahead and adding some of the further darker lines as you observe over here. This is a few dots and few lines here and there, and as we progress you can see that all these lines will become darker for the areas which are the darkest amongst the buildings, and some of the areas are in the same lightest value of the colors where we started out. So I continue to build slowly. So do not ever go on to conclusions that this painting is not turning out exactly the way I wanted and all. Always continue to progress slowly and observe your painting. Add a few dots here and there. Just try to add the darker and lighter values. You will automatically get something that is of your choice, and your buildings will turn out the way you want them to. Adding some of my other lines in few of the other areas, and then I would go ahead and add some of these beautiful smaller areas, etc. As I progress, I would even extend it a bit, I mean the darkest value a bit on the left side. Let's have a view from another angle now. Starting out with my yellow greens, and then I'm extending it even on the right side. As I go towards the bottom area, you will see that I mix it with some hooker's green or viridian. You can use any of these two colors or else even sap green. That choice I would leave it up to you. Then I would mix it with the darkest value of green, and my darkest value of green is Van Dyke green. You can go ahead with any of the other dark value of green that you have with yourself. I'm going ahead with my Raphael brush size 0, and this is a beautiful brush which I have. It has got a very nice tip. It is Aqua Soft, I guess the name. So if you are planning to buy any good mop brush, I think this is one of the brushes that you can look forward to. Going ahead and adding some of my darkest value towards the bottom area as I did tell you earlier, and then just finishing it off by adding one or two lines and extending it even towards the top area. I always love to work wet on wet, so adding some of my darkest value or the darkest lines of these greens in some of the spaces to show the darker areas of the green patches, and some of the areas are more in the lighter values, just blending it with the background and making it look more organic. That's how I look forward to in this painting, and that's all I would be doing in this painting altogether. It's a very simple, easy, uh, very good to go kind of a painting where anyone can go ahead and paint any simple kind of a castle. You can get these I mean photographs from online and then start out with it. I'll just go ahead and splatter some of my clear water to get these beautiful small dots, and this really like takes my heart along with it. It gets such beautiful texture onto the ground area that I really fall in love with it. Going ahead and adding some of more of these darker values, and then just removing any extra masking fluid that I added initially. Now masking fluid is always an option that you can exercise, you may not exercise. I did exercise it because the space is really small and I did not want to take the blue and the orange into the areas of the castle, so I did apply it. But rest you may not also apply it if you are working on a bit bigger paper or you are more controlled with your washes. Adding the darkest value of the browns and going over the darker areas, dropping in one or two lines. This is basically glazing kind of a technique that I'm going ahead and applying to create more, I would say, depth into this painting. You can always use it in many of your different kind of paintings that you do, whether it be floral, whether it be any kind of castle or urban sketching, or even portrait related paintings. So everywhere it has got its importance, I would say, altogether. So keep around with it, and I'm pretty sure about it. You will really like to continue working with these techniques for sure. Adding some of my ultramarine blue and then just covering the areas which I did leave earlier in between the castles. Working on the stone area, these are again very small stones that I have added. So just go ahead and apply some initial brown, blend it with some more water, and then add some of the darker value of browns in few of the areas and some of the darker, lighter value of brown. So keep the lightest value first, and then adding a bit of darker value to make the depth come come up well in it, or the light and shadow, whatever you want to say. The painting is now almost complete except a few highlights that we are going to add, and some of the grasses in the bottom right hand corner, as well as near these small stones. I would even use a bit of white gouache for some of the areas. So you will see how we build upon it with the help of gouache. Not much, one or two smaller highlights, that's it. If you have liked this video, do give it a thumbs up, comment below what more you would like to see and what would actually help you to improve your watercolor journey. If you are joining me for the first time, just drop in a hi in the comment section. I do reply back to all your messages. Do ring the bell button so that you do not miss any further updates from me, as well as in case you are someone who wants to get a 100% cotton 300 GSM or even a bit lower GSM handmade watercolor sketchbook, do reach out to me on Vibrant Parcels Instagram directly. You can drop me a DM. We have a lot of sketchbook options that are already done, or else we even do customized sketchbook, which might be a bit more expensive than what we already have available with us. Please do go ahead and just tag me on your Instagram. If you are someone who is following me on Instagram, I go by the name watercolor.illustration.letter, and there are more than a lakh people following me over there. I have been painting for more than 6 years. There are a lot of tips and tricks which I also do give out over there, so you can even follow me there. Just learn whatever we can, and let's enjoy painting with watercolors. I will see you again very soon next week with another new video, and there is a lot more waiting for each one of you. Goodbye and see you very soon.